JC Santana coming to you from the Institute of Human Performance, and we're going to review a couple of things, react to a couple of things. As you know, I kind of want to educate everybody, and I want to discuss training methods and bring things to the forefront, whether it's BS or whether it has to be criticized or whether it's solid training, and let you guys be the judge after people explain themselves which one you think is more effective and more sensible, simpler, and the one that has the most application. Now, let's get this thing started.
Geek. That's an AK-47 coming at you. Chopper, baby.
First of all, we want to review the 90-degree knee flexion squat thing from Dr.Seedman. And I don't know what happened in the industry, but there was an interview that Mark Bell had on his podcast with Dr.Seedman and Dr. Mike, and see where this thing went south. Let's take a listen to it and see what you guys think.
I just want to say I actually have great respect for everything you do, because I've seen a lot of people post like, hey, Mike, like jump in. You're always very...
All right, and Mike's response?
He seemed to me like a respectful, decent human being who was very nice. And that's all really like sort of the most important thing about being a person anyway. So.
All right. I don't know what happened in between. I don't know if it's a joke or what, but this happened.
Fortunately or not, I know who Mr. Dr. Joel Seedman is. I have debated him on Mark Bell's Power Project before. And I know for a near fact, though everyone is entitled to some wiggle room, that he's the term escapes me at the moment, fucking liar, charlatan, piece of shit. Am I allowed to say that? We'll see if that makes through the editing process.
Yikes. You know, I've asked several people what went on. No answer, so we're going to roll with it. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's a joke, but I thought it was kind of unique, right? We're not going to quite take that approach, but I'll tell you what problems I have with some of Seedsman's stuff. My main problem is click for baits, okay? Click to get your attention. I don't like that, man. You know, this is all over the place. You know, unstable training, shit hanging from bands, single leg this, bring your leg up for that, suspend the body between two benches, 50 gazillion pounds unstable, aluminum bars that weigh about 2 pounds for this bent over 90-degree thing, this awful stuff, this thing here, you know, and what is this? Push-up, you know? So this clickbait is in the dead bug with the uneven bar thing. This is the thing that drives me nuts, man. You know, what is this? Okay. Yeah, right. Stop, you know, all for the pictures. Why? Because you consume it. You guys consume it. So you're partly responsible why this guy does this. Okay. You want to know why? Because he is rewarded for it. He is rewarded for the clown acts. You don't believe me they're clown acts? You think he really believes in this stuff? I'll question him, and I'll appear in any debate forum, any format, any podcast with him, because I will ask him a couple of pointed questions that, you know what, he's not going to have an answer for. He's going to fill it up with PhD talk. And this is no disrespect to Seedman. He's done a great thing. Like Ben Patrick, they brought some stuff to the front. And I'll tell you now, I agree with probably 80% of the stuff they do. But it's the 20% that they're known for that is absolute hog shit, all right, that I have a problem with. Now, let's hear it from Dr. Seedman's own words.
You have, 2 seconds to catch people's attention. So yes, some of that is like, hey, I have to put up kind of like the quick thing that's going to get...
All right, clickbait. He's telling you. This is not what he builds on. And when they get results, is it this bullshit or is it the other good stuff that they do?
When I post exercises, I do intentionally oftentimes go after exercises that are a little bit more eye-catching, because I know that for me to reach the most population, the largest portion of the audience, okay, and to make the biggest impact, I just posted deadlift, squat, bench, and even though we do a lot of those, and that makes up a stronger majority of my training than just unstable versions, I'd probably get a quarter of the people looking at my things. My reach, it would be less.
So I will sell my soul for your attention because that's what makes me money. All right, you know what? We have a term for that. So what that is has already been established. Now we're just debating the price, okay?
So I do try to tell people that, hey, the unstable versions should never replace the foundational movements 80% of everything I have my athletes do, everything that I do, it focuses on the foundational movements.
Most of the stuff, and I don't even think it's 80. And again, when Ben Patrick and Dr. Seedman get good results, and I'm not debating that they get good results, my question to you is it the extreme bullshit, okay, that I'm telling you right now is not necessary? You're not going to sell me on it. And forget research, I've got history, all right, and statistics that'll show you that what you're saying is not true. Is it that extreme range of motion and this unstable crap that's giving you the results, or the other, I would say 90% of what you're doing that's pretty good, which is what we've been doing for 100 years, okay? What is giving you the results? And I'm telling you right now, it's not what you're about to see. So I disagree with a couple of things. Number one, and I'm going to make this as short as possible, gibberish claims, absolute false claims. Like what? Here we go.
To over-manipulate their body on dips as an attempt to target different muscles. However, the goal should be optimal human biomechanics on all movements. Then let the intended outcome occur.
Then let the intended outcome improve. What did he just say? What did he just say? You know, I brought in some experts that'll give you a little commentary after this gibberish, all right?
This longitudinal trap bar variation instills perfect dip form, as anything less results in extreme instability.
No entendí ni cojones lo que dijiste.
All right, that's my buddy Mario Ramil, Mr. Biomechanics, just telling you in Spanish, I don't know what the fuck you just said. All right? All right, let's go on to some more false claims and gibberish.
The same folks who rip stability exercises are the same ones who struggle with it. Once you eliminate your dysfunctional body.
So because you choose not to do this, you have a dysfunction, a biomechanical dysfunction, absolute hog shit. All right? Lie. Absolute lie. And that's disingenuous. Coming from a PhD, I expect more honesty and I expect more accuracy.
Mechanics, you'll be surprised just how heavy and intense you can go with these functional stability drills.
And because you can go heavy on those drills, does that mean you can bat better? Does that mean you can wrestle better? Does that mean you can play basketball better? And the answer is no. No, no, and no. Again, let's call Mario Ramil, all right? Because Mario Ramil got his PhD in biomechanics way back in Cuba. Let's see what he has to say.
Bro, papi, you have to understand que it's gibberish what he's saying. It's gibberish. Me tiene con Nasia. Little Nasia. That should be a name, man.
Okay, Mario says your name should be Little Nasia, that you make him nauseous with your comments.
Exercises that involve oblique slings, such as this chest press, are not only very sport specific since they involve similar firing patterns.
So, sport specific because they involve similar firing patterns. Another PhD lingo that sums up to nothing. This is how people who are well read pull out language that's meaningless, put 3 or 4 words that are 7 syllables, 10 syllables back to back to impress you. Because if you can't impress them with information, baffle them with bullshit. And that's what I call on this, okay? So,
as athletic movements, but they're also very therapeutic.
These are athletic movements and also very therapeutic. What the hell is therapeutic? Explain that to me. Feel good? Healing from an injury? Performance enhancement? What is that? It's such a vague term that provides value to the exercise when we don't even know what the value is, but just therapeutic. Hog shit. Again, since this one is a little bit more biomechanically complex, I gotta call in the big guns. The big guns, one of the big guys, one of the goats in our industry of biomechanics. Here we go.
And let me see, what else could we pile on? Is there any more shit we could pile on to the top of the outcome of this case? Is it possible?
All right? That's how I feel about it. And this is no attack on Dr. Seedman. He's a good guy, man. He's polite, he's decent, all that stuff. Good. This is purely on the claims and on what we're seeing. Okay? This is all that is. All right? Now that we got past the false claims, let's get into some training theories or training principles or scientific jargon that I question. I really question. Transfer and perturbation training. Wow, perturbation, that's just shaking you up, okay? So let's look at this here. You tell me. All right, so we have the horse harness, thing with the head and the unstable thing. Everything is unstable and I'm yanking your head around. Either that or I'm beating the shit out of your head, basically with a stability ball where you've got, a couple of 100 pounds and you're deadlifting it. All right? You're not going to sell me on it. You're not going to sell me on it. Okay? I get it. Well, he had a concussion. He had a neck. If this has any worth, it should be done in the PT clinic when they're rehabbing the concussion. Okay? This has absolutely no place in strength and conditioning. And for you to tell me that this is doing anything specific that you know about and that research shows that there's direct application to what you're claiming, show me the research and I'll show you bullshit research. And here's perturbation of the wrist. What the hell is that while you're balancing a kettlebell? What redeeming value does that have in a punch, in shoulder stability, wrist stability? What does that have to do with a punch, a stiff arm, anything like that? You know what? Zero. Donut. You're not going to sell me on it. It's bullshit. Now we get into the instability and, I love it, foot activation. Can you explain to me what foot activation is, what specific foot activation you're eliciting with this, and how that applies to the foot activation needed on turf, on sand, on clay, or on concrete? Explain that one to me. You know what? You can't. You can't. You can assume, you can extrapolate, but you can't explain yes and no in clear terms what the hell you're talking about. So let's look at some of this training. A shitload of pounds on a stability ball, on a Bosu ball. And that does what exactly? So you destabilize the surface, try to increase force production. When you destabilize the surface, you cannot increase force production. And if force production is what you're looking for, stabilize the surface, you can't have it both ways. Now, if you're looking at foot activation on this one here, incline, all right? What foot activation? Oh, you mean static or isometric, to use one of your favorite terms. Eversion and inversion of the foot, there's 50 million ways to do it better. And to have somebody climb on a bench and do this is absolutely moronic. Not necessary, all theater. There you have it. All right. So we're on to the, let's see if we can do 3 things, 30 or 40% effective, but do 3 things together. Because doing a single thing 80, 90% effective and doing another thing 80, 90% effective and doing another thing 90% effective, that's no good. Let's do all 3 things each 30% effective. Because why? Because one is relying on the other one and relying on the other one, and this one is not in a biomechanical position that elicits good force production. This was in less, but this one's in strong. So this strong one can't work because it's limited by these 2. And so this falls apart on the biomechanics, on vectors, on every mathematical and physiological formula you can bring to bear. This thing falls apart. Here we go. Get ready. Yeah, let's put somebody in a bridge with feet unstable and stabilize the shoulder, destabilize the feet, put them in a bridge, and then do partial range bench presses. I don't mind the partial range bench presses, okay? I'll give you that one, no problem. But the other is absolute hog shit. All right, let's go to the floor and bench press a gazillion pounds partial. No problems with that one, I got you. But the feet have to be off the ground. Why? Because we have to elicit force production at the chest while contracting the abdominals and keeping them from having the legs fall. What does that have to do with every standing position that I know of? And even if you're a fighter, and I specialize in combat, fighters don't do that. If you're going to do something like that, you got 50 million ways to do it better and more specific. So that falls apart right where it stands. Now let's go to a row while your body's extended and weights on the distal part of the body. Nonsense. Nonsense. Again, pure bullshit. All right? Let's go to another one. Let's get into a bird dog position, all right? While the rear foot is loaded and you're doing the heavy row, okay? Look, don't even talk to me about diagonal slings and fascia trains and all that. I know the authors of those books, okay? This is not what it is, and this is not functional. Period. End of story. More bird dog type of stuff with the rear leg loaded for whatever reason, okay? Except this time we're doing a plank from the elbow. Again, what is the purpose of this exercise? to fire the lat and the opposing glute? Nonsense. There's no need for that. That's called the Serape effect. 50 million ways to do it ground-based, more functional. All right, so now we get to the beautiful. Let's get on all fours on top of benches, because Dr. Seedman apparently has a thing for benches, because if you can do a deadlift on top of a bench and lateral single leg slide on top of a bench, a all fours push-up on top of a bench, a bridge well with the push-up on top of a bench. If you can do it on top of a bench, and especially if it's two benches, and if you're balancing on a bench, it's even better. Nonsense. So even the soft nature of the bench, all right, does nothing for foot activation. Okay? Why? Because when you play, you're playing with some kind of shoe, some kind of cleat, and oftentimes with your ankle taped. So it has nothing to do with this. All right? So now let's get on all fours on top of a bench and do what? Yeah, let's do a push-up with something hanging from your head. Why? Because of proper head position. Oh my God. Oh yeah, proper head position. Let's go for another plank and do a lateral raise with one leg and one leg raised. Again, absolute nonsense, bullshit patterns. You're not going to talk to me about fascial slings. You're not going to talk to me about the Serape effect. I wrote the damn article in the NSCA on the Serape effect. Remember, Doc, okay, when you were getting your PhD, when was that? Years ago, I was writing articles and doing this with Gary Gray, Vern Gambetta, Paul Chek, Michael Clark, the big guns that brought function in the early 90s and mid 90s to this industry. So you're talking to one of the guys that was there. So you can't lie to me. You can't lie to me, and you can't fill me with big 7-syllable PhD words, because I'm a dissertation short of my PhD and I've published a shitload of scientific research. So you're not going to lie to me about it. If you want to debate, let's go. Let's go. And I'll call you on your research. Provide it to me. I'll do a research of the research and show you where you cannot make the direct translation that you're making. So basically, you're talking shit. All right, so we got the split squat, which I have no problem with the isometric, but now everybody is balancing a kettlebell. What the hell is that? Balancing a kettlebell? Oh, for what? Proprioception. What proprioception? Wrist stability? Seriously? I train fighters. Nobody needs more wrist stability because they do grappling from different angles than our fighters, our jiu-jitsu guys, our judo guys. And this is comical. To tell me that the proprioception at the shoulder, wrist, from balancing a kettlebell upside down is comical. All right? Pure stupid ass training. So you're not benefiting anybody from doing that. You're benefiting people from doing the partial ranges that you do, from the isometrics that you do, of the traditional stuff. This here is hogwash. And that brings us to misguided applications, like if everything we just talked about was a misguided application, which it is. All right, here we go. Single leg RDLs with a barbell. Crazy. If you know anything about power, if you know anything about ground transfer, if you know anything about how sports are played and how you hit, all right, this has nothing to do with much. Now, we do a ton of this, okay, in this position. We can get on a staggered stance or even a single leg, but usually we do staggered stance because we like to put 90% on that front leg, but allow us to use more weight so the glute, hamstring, and paraspinals can get to work. We go single leg contralateral dumbbells. We go single leg contralateral cable, which is better than this, all right? We do Kaiser, which allows you to explode, all right? But this, look how sloppy and how crazy this looks. Look at this shit. Does that look like it's doing anything? You know where you're getting it from? The isometric hold before the movement. Can you do it better? Can you do it easier? Can you do it with more transferability, with more specificity to tennis, to wrestling, to shortstop fielding? Can you do it like that? Then that's what you should be using. This, it's the isometric that's getting it for you. It's not the stupid movement. Yeah, but you got to talk about the posterior chain and all that other. Motor control and bigger activation of the posterior chain. And where did you get that bigger? Have you measured the posterior chain activation of this versus an Olympic weightlifter when they do the high pull on two legs with twice the weight? No, you haven't, because if you had, all right, you wouldn't be making that statement. Again, bullshit statements on bullshit training. Not all of your training, this training. Here's another version, closer, but the guy's using too much weight. If you're going to go single leg, he's using too much weight. Put him on a staggered stance and he can do it with his own body. Okay? Again, bad application. Why? Because you may have a PhD and you may know physiology and you have done your dissertation and gotten through school, but you don't know biomechanics and you don't know dynamics biomechanics, which are Newton's laws of motion. That, my friend, is not your strong suit, and your training definitely displays that. All right? Another misguided application. Let's look at this, and there's a ton. Not only Dr. Seedman, a ton on the internet with this position doing horizontal displacement of force. Here we go. Okay, whoever does this doesn't know what core activation is. And if you talk to me about core activation here, you don't know physics. Why? When you're moving that bag side to side, okay, the momentum and the inertia and all of the forces being horizontal, okay? How is the base on this? The base is longitudinal. The base is long. The base is this way, and your force application is perpendicular to a long base. You cannot, because of the base, not your muscle activation and not your core activation and not your motor unit recruitment, none of that, okay, can bring to bear anything because the base doesn't support it. If I'm a judo, my job is to take steps and get into a position where I can catch you on a single leg. Because no matter how strong you are, if you're on a single leg and I'm on both legs, or I'm attacking you while you're on a single leg, you're dead. And there's no training that can make you strong on a single leg because it's physics dominated. It's dominated by Newton's laws of motion and not your strength and conditioning program. Okay, so it's positioning. You have to know biomechanics and vector forces in order to understand that this is hog shit. You feel me? And then we get into the absolute bullshit of all bullshit, all right, which is stuff like this.
Nice, good Chris, good Chris.
Good, Chris. Great job, Chris. All right, the only thing you're missing is a neck harness and two super bands attaching you to that rack behind you. And and Dr. Seedman beating the shit out of you with a stability ball on your head while you're doing all of this. Really? Really, like, there's a redeeming value, okay, on doing a bullshit safety squat and a bullshit hex. Why? Because you want to do both of them at the same time. What sport? What application? You know what application? Clickbaits. That's your application. All right, we get to the next one. Okay, blindfolded because, you know, in case you go blind, you need to know how to get around the gym. Blindfolded with a gazillion pounds. Yes. Okay, great job. Look, I'm not saying Seedman is not strong. He's a mule. I'm not saying that Ben Patrick doesn't have ups, incredible ups. I'm not attacking these people personally. They're nice people. They're professionals. I'm glad they're around. They're not the enemy. I'm glad they're adding so we can have this discussion. I'm just having a discussion kind of like if they were here and we were all drinking beer, the way I would talk. That's the way I'm talking. It's not an attack on them. It's an attack on what's coming out of their mouth. All right? Which I know deep down inside, they don't even believe, and they're doing it for clickbaits. Because if we were here and I asked them questions, I'm telling you right now, we would agree on 80 to 90% of everything. But they can't say that. You want to know why? Because they won't have 2 million viewers if they say that. So let's conclude, okay? This is not an attack on Dr. Seedman, okay? Dr. Mike attacked him pretty much, but this is not an attack on Seedman. It's not an attack on Ben Patrick when I talk about him. And Mike and I agree on a lot of things, and we don't agree on some things, okay? This is an attack on the practice of clickbaiting and the practice of disingenuous false information, misguided applications. And what I hope is that when I call out these things, Ben Patrick and Dr. Seedman reevaluate their approach, reevaluate what they say, and reevaluate how they act. They may say, after reevaluation, JC, you're full of shit. I'm going to continue to do what I do. Fine. Fantastic. We're still friends. I'll still invite them both to dinner, drinks, lunch, no problems. I'm all good with both of them. Okay? But as a professional and doing what I've been doing for almost 50 years, Jesus, I'm 65. I've been at this since I was 14. At a very high level at 14 because I was surrounded by bodybuilders at Brody's gym. So I learned my shit real early. okay? And I've been through sports, combat sports. I played Little League and played some other recreational sports, enough to know. And my specialty, okay, is engineering, math, vectors, physics. I eat that shit up, all right? So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to functional biomechanics, and I was fortunate to be where the revolution of functional training started in the early 80s, again with the greats, Gary Gray, Vern Gambetta, Michael Clark, and all those cats, Mike Boyle, all those people. All right, we didn't agree on everything, but man, we were pushing this shit forward. So with that background and that context, I love everybody. I respect everybody. I'm doing this to make the industry better. I'm open to critique, respectful critiques. All right? So, love you guys. There's more coming. There's more coming. So, stay tuned.